I don't know when I started keeping it. There's no title, no folder, no formal record, but I know exactly who's on it. The list. People who hurt me, betrayed me, walked away when I needed them most. Some names I thought I'd moved on from. Some names I've circled again and again. I used to think the list made me stronger, but if I'm honest, it's made me tired. This season on Other People's Shoes, we're opening up the pages, not to fix it, to admit the list exists, and ask what it's really costing us to keep it. Welcome to Season 23, The List. Now, here's your host, Neil Matthews.
Yes, welcome in one and all. It is, of course, Other People's Shoes. Season 23, The List, as we wrap up our list today, as we look to maybe get to the fireplace, the fireside camp, as we end the summer, we end the season. When I first thought about it, little rewind, I didn't know what this was going to involve. As a creator for 7 years now, every Wednesday, here we are again. I didn't know what this was going to bring, and I still don't. And I'm still blown away by what people have shared. We've had some crazy stories, and we've had some hard stories. Sometimes it's hard to set it aside. I know it's only a once a week thing. These stories stay with me, and I hope they stay with you as well. I say all that to say welcome in to the season finale of The List, and I'm excited about our guest today. Hopefully you are equally as excited. Let's meet him now, our new friend, Greg. Greg, how are you today?
I'm doing good, Neil, and I'm excited to be on here, get to share a little bit about my list, be part of the impact. I love what you're doing, sharing people's stories. I know that along my journey, it was other people's stories and some of the darkest chapters that really kept me going. Really an honor to get to be here with you.
Well, again, we are privileged to meet you, to walk in your shoes, even if it's just for a brief moment. The goal, that perspective gets shifted, that you're here to try to change our mind or to fix us. Jessica Lewis so eloquently says, it's not here to fix the list. It's maybe here to acknowledge it. And what are we doing with said list? That's the challenge. That's the quest that we're on. We're happy to add you to the chapter of all the shows that we've had this season. We're excited about it. So Greg, help us with this as we get going and rolling. My favorite question, two questions really of all time, and that's this. What size shoes do you wear?
I wear a 10 and a half.
Okay. Now, here's the best question. I mean, that was good, but then it always gets better. The follow-up. So here's the follow-up to that is what style or brand, there should be only one brand. I'll give you a hint as I touch my microphone. Don't be swayed by the brand. What brand or shoe or style do you like to wear the most?
Oh, that's quite funny. I'm just noticing the mic. My favorite has to be Brooks for sure. Absolutely most comfortable shoe in existence. Said by me. So
I bought a pair of Brooks. Was at Dick's Sporting Goods stores. I don't know if you have that out. Nashville, Tennessee area. I was against them. I was like, no, I'm not going to get these. And my wife's like, just try them on. And the salesperson, they did their job. They sold me on these Brooks. The iteration is Brooks 15, and I believe they're called the Ghosts. And I like the name of it. I like the color of it. I know you're not a sports guy, but they look like Seahawk colors for those Northwest folks. You can envision what that looks like, the little bit of the navy with the sea green. They look really cool. I'm such a Jordan shoe snob. I just put them on the shelf. I mean, I wear them from time to time. Brooks, I have gotten around in 10 and a half. That's easy to get into. But why Brooks for you?
You know, really the comfort. I do glycerin. The Ghosts are nice. I do the glycerins. It has to be about, well, I say about, golly, it might be more than 10 years. I put a pair on in a store. I used to do a decent amount of, well, we could say running, but I think jogging's more appropriate. I put a pair on. I think I have a wide foot. I'm not sure how it all lands. Just so comfortable, and I've stuck with them since.
Glycerin, that's a fun name. I'm always curious about how they come up with the shoe names themselves, because Adidas and even Asics had that for a long time. Like I wore Asic Noosa. I'm not even sure how and why they came up with that. It was a triathlon shoe. I would say I was a runner. I did 5Ks. I did some 10Ks. I did some halves. Everybody's like, when's the full coming? I'm like, listen, I did 2 halves. That's literally is a marathon right there, the 2 halves. So I'm good. I put the 2 halves together and I got a whole. Apparently that doesn't count in the running world. I'm not sure.
I like it. It counts for me. I'm tracking everything I've ever ran. I'm pretty sure I'm at a marathon.
Running is fun. People are like, no, that's not true, Neil. Running is not fun. No, it is. Just give it a chance. It may be fun for you one day. This idea of a list, putting somebody on there somewhere in the journey to acknowledge that it's there, 1. two, what are we doing about them? Now, again, we had a past guest a while back, many months ago, actually. We had a guy actually come on. He didn't talk about a person. He talked about a thing, and his thing was dyslexia. Now, again, everyone has their own version of the list of why they have it on there, something that they've been able to come over. And maybe some are still like, no, they're on that list, and they're never getting off because they're in permanent Sharpie, and they're not coming off. Not taking them off. I won't. Like, that's okay. You don't have to. How are you doing with it on there? That to say, Greg, help us with this. Who is on your list?
There's been many people on the list, and I do my best to process getting people off the list. Biggest challenge that I had would be my stepmother being on the list. That's the biggest achievement. I don't know if I'd say she's totally off the list. I don't know that that's fair. Like, I'm real comfortable where she's at right now. There's a second person that's been on the list the absolute longest. It's me. Forgiving myself, the things that I've been through has been, still to this day, is quite a journey. It's easy to understand in hindsight that we were doing the best we could then. When we look at it a little further ahead, I have chapters where it's easy to really just judge myself. Outside of self, my stepmother has been biggest accomplishment. I don't know if we'd say off the list or not. There was a very long journey in forgiving my stepmother for the things that I had been through with her. There was childhood trauma. My biological mother died of cancer when I was 3 years old. And my stepmother kind of seamlessly enters the picture. My father was a over-the-road truck driver. The best that I can recall, she kind of comes in almost in the beginning as like a nanny, never leaves. That journey from the age of 3 till roughly about 10 years old, maybe it was 11 years old, I ran away from home. Finally, for that 7 or 8 year span, there was graphic, psychological, and physical abuse that from the time I ran away till probably close to about 30 years old. When I say she was on the list, I daydreamed to go back and cause harm to her. She was heavily on the list.
What led her to get there? You talk about the psychological stuff, some kind of catalyst to that, other than just kind of coming in and trying to be the mom you had already lost. You're grieving your mother. First off, I want to even acknowledge that. I'm sorry that you've lost your mother. That's a tough road. I know we've had a number of guests on who have shared that they've lost their mom. And it was a big deal for them. The mom was the nurturer. The mom was the protector. The mom was the cheerleader. The mom was all the things a mom should be. I want to at least acknowledge that. You talk about even daydreaming, perhaps maybe even fantasizing what that would look like to create harm to her. Why run away even?
The culminating point of everything that can really put the rest into perspective would be the fact that the experience, when I was 7 years old, my stepmother killed my 5-year-old brother with her hands. She dropped him. When I use the word drop, I mean intentionally dropped him on his head on the concrete. She had him by his ankles. That severed his brainstem. His heart was still beating. A decision had to be made later to pull the plug on him. She lied and said that he had fell off the pool deck and threatened me and my brother's life to not say any different. Witnessing that, I mean, we can imagine that there's a ton of physical and psychological trauma that goes on for the years. Like, it wasn't just one event. Given examples, I got set on top of a wood burning stove, and then obviously there's burns, no medical care. I remember maybe a week later going to school, I couldn't sit down. It was too painful. I couldn't let anyone know. I would sit as close as I could to the chair without touching my butt on the chair, try to lean on the desk. Well, eventually there literally became a pretty repulsive odor from the fact that this wound doesn't have medical care. I mean, she took me in the basement and scrubbed rotten skin off. Things like this were a near daily occurrence. And then my brother, at the time when it happened, as big as it is, you can feel this right now. At the time, I wasn't even able to register that my brother was just killed. Oh my God, I'm still alive. I was so focused on literal survival. Oh, that happened. I'm still alive. Okay, good. Ran away when I gathered up the courage to run away when I was about 10 or 11 years old. From there, it was really just a lot of years of processing hatred. Eventually, that journey shifts into beginning to process forgiveness for her. It takes upwards of 20 years just to begin that process.
Wow. How many brothers are there? Where are you in the order?
Biological, I had two other brothers, and I'm right in the middle. Older brother, 2 years older, and then 2 years younger. And then in the mix as a whole, just to paint a little more of a picture for everyone, my stepmother had a daughter that she brought into the relationship. Then her and my father go on to have two more sons that would be my half brothers as well.
The child that was killed was her biological child.
No, forgive me. Yeah, so she
Okay.
brought a daughter in the relationship.
Okay.
That was my biological younger brother.
I was just trying to find the family tree and put all that together. The child that was killed, using your words, that was your biological brother. It gets tough when it gets a blended family. So you see this, you witness it. You're not the only one that witnessed it. Others that did as well. Again, if I'm projecting or adding more to your story, please, of course, correct. It sounds like she really did a good job of almost gaslighting you guys in a sense to say, no, that didn't happen. No, you imagined it, and used that innocence of a child to really play into that you didn't really see this. No, that didn't really happen. No, I dropped. And the reality is no, that's not the case.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I tell people gaslighting, yes. Manipulation, yes. I have quite literally never seen anyone do it as good as her. She duped every single person. I lived in New Jersey, and the system was called DIFUS, the Division of Youth and Family Services. Janet Foley, I'll forever remember your name and I'll forever say your name. I've tried to look you up many times. She was the caseworker that was assigned to us, and she would come to our house once a week. I would suggest Annette had her duped, but at the same time, this is your sole job. Annette had everyone duped, very manipulative, very gaslighting. I mean, exceptional. She quite literally got away with murder. As far as us kids, it wasn't gaslighting. Definitively knew in our core, if we dared challenge her, she could kill us. So there was no gaslighting to us. This is how it goes.
I've had some cult survivors. I think of past seasons now as they start flooding through my synapses. Maybe I'm not using that correctly. As they start flooding through my brain, or as research starts shoving me notes. I had a young lady that came on that talked about being sexually abused by her youth pastor, and then he became the senior pastor of her church. And as she's telling me this horrific story about one of their sexual encounters, she's telling me about how she looked under the stereo because it's in the 70s, and she read off the serial number of the stereo to get her mind off of what he was doing to her. And I'm only bringing her story into this. I feel like the trauma is not parallel per se. That's some trauma. And I said to her as she's telling me this, I said, Sandy, it sounds like what you're describing is not a sexual abuse. That sounds like rape. Yeah, you're the first one that ever caught that. That's pretty easy to diagnose. I'm not a doctor, but that's why I wanted the clarity. Is in my brain, I'm hearing, man, she's tricking them. She's gaslighting them. Brainwash them into this isn't happening. This isn't wrong. This is normal. I just don't like that people are mean to kids. I just don't. Kids are supposed to be precious and innocent and sweet and kind. And when adults do bad things to them, no shoe judgment, no Wapner judgment, no rock judgment. I could see why you would have daydream or even fantasies or even write them down on a notebook. If I ever get a chance, I might do something to them. Now, again, there's those out there that maybe have had trouble with their siblings. My hand would be up on that. It's like, wow, I don't know if I would protect them. Certain moments that you set all the sibling rivalry aside and you're like, we need to get together for the greater good. Let's form a united front on the board of risk because we're at risk and we need to defend our country and come together. It sounds like you guys kind of did that. I mean, again, maybe I'm wrong.
Well, when you say it kind of did that, are you referring to like siblings kind of coming together?
Yeah, I guess I am. I look at my relationship with my brother. It's not the greatest. My sisters have kind of mended fences over the last 10 years, 15 years or so. Growing up, would I have ever imagined that I could call my sister, either one of them, up right now and be like, hey, I need you? That would have never have been on my radar. Never. Now as an adult, I'm like, yeah, I need him. My brother, by the way, if he ever hears this, I don't know how he would, but if he did, Corey, I need you too. I want you back in the fold. I want you back on team us. There have been times, very small, where my brother and I were on the same page. Was there like a collective meeting? Was there just an unspoken, hey, we're on team, let's get rid of stepmom?
There definitely has to be like, hey, what was that collaborative in there? Annette's biological daughter, what I'll offer, and I want to speak this gently, part of the main physical abuse. So I can't say that she was never physically harmed in any way. For the main part was just not part of the physical abuse. Now, with that being said, I can only imagine the psychological trauma of even witnessing all of that take place. And also, I don't know the potential of even things like survivor's guilt and things of that nature. I can only imagine the weight for her as well. She wouldn't be in the mix. My two, I just refer to them as my brothers, but my two half brothers wouldn't come until essentially almost after I'm gone. They're born, but they're very, very young when I run away. The dichotomy is me and my two other brothers. What I can share is Annette's no longer with us on this earth. I want to speak gently and kindly as possible. I'm going to suggest that there was definitely a lot of trauma that was not healed. That definitively is so. And potentially literal chemical hormonal imbalances as well. We put all that together. We were the object of attention, us three. It was so intense, like day in, day out. I don't know how to really explain. I mean, without just going too far, the best I can say with respect to people that have had this experience, it was like being a prisoner of war in America in a household. Almost never even communication among us. It's not that we were intentionally separated. We were so laser focused on everything she would have us do. The house was always spotless. Anyone that came over would be like, oh my God, how do you keep the house so clean? I know. And everything was timed, inappropriate, short amount of time. Everything. Clean the bathroom. These are examples. These are literal. She'd take a can of the little Comet Ajax and a bread knife and cut it in half and go and be like, you got 5 minutes to have the bathroom cleaned. And that includes the top of the fan blades. I don't care. Don't miss something. I learned how to clean in detail. And so everything's on a clock constantly. Almost never make your time frame and then you're getting some type of punishment or torture for missing the time frame, or it's being rotated through. Someone else is getting beat. Don't dare look over there. That might mean you want some. Just focus on your mission. So there really wasn't much communication with us inside of the house. My older brother, 2 years older than me, he ran away about the same age as I ran away. It would be 2 years before I run away. Possibly at a subconscious level, that's when I determined, oh, I'm at that age, I'm ready to run away now. He ran away a year and a half, 2 years. My younger brother is deceased. My older brother has ran away. He's in state's custody. I'm now the laser focus. Eventually, that's where it came to this place. I got to run away. I'm not going to make it till 18. There's no way.
So you said you ran away at 10?
Yeah, I think I was still 10. It could have been 11, but right there about.
You're not 18. You're not 16. You're not 17. You're not even 15.
Yeah, fair.
I mean, I'm thinking back to when I was 10. That's 1990 for the record, for those scoring at home. The Reds are World Series champions for those baseball fans out there. I'm thinking about baseball. I'm thinking about Sports Center. I'm thinking about life after elementary school. I'm thinking of going to the beach. Those are the things that are probably on my 10-year-old brain. I'm still probably thinking about Thundercats and G.I. Joe. Let's be honest. 10, where do you go?
Think back to that frequently. My son right now, Xander, he just turned 11 on the 7th. I look at him and I'm like, I don't know that I've met a 10-year-old that I think is capable of running away, any type of capable. With that being said, it doesn't necessarily mean that I was. Survival, when we're put in certain situations, we'll adapt to survive. We will figure it out. Backside of all of this, I wrote a book called The Power in the Pain. And truthfully, the power in the pain, I know how adaptive we are capable of. I am inherently, personally, intimately aware. So like when I face challenges, it's almost like I can't even see it any other way than, oh, there's a way to adapt around this. It's one of the blessings in it. Where did I go? What did I do? I ran away twice. The first time I ran away, I was not that skilled at it. So I was just like walking down a road somewhere and a cop pulls up and he's like, hey, what's your name? And of course I gave him some fake name. I don't remember the one I gave him. It wasn't Greg. And he's like, no, you're Greg. He's like, get in the car. Oddly enough, he takes me to the police station in this room, like waiting for a while. Then I go in what appears to be like an office. And I'm sitting in front of the police officer's desk. He asked me, what's going on? Why did you run away? Like, we know who you are. We know you're a runaway. And I just remember this teacher, Miss Cunningham. When I say Annette had everyone duped, she had everyone duped except Miss Cunningham. She would always come up to me like every day. She would tell me things like, I know what's going on. Look into my soul. And she'd be like, I know what's going on. I want to help you. I need you to say something. You have to say something or this isn't going to end. Almost every day, pull me aside and give me a message like that. When that was happening, in hindsight, what an amazing human on this earth. While she would speak to me, I was afraid we were about to get caught. I'd be like, lady, you're going to get me killed. You need to shut up and walk away right now. This fear when she would speak to me. Moving back to the police station, I mustered all of the courage. Annette had a fear over me. I ended up joining the Marine Corps and I ended up going to combat in Iraq 3 times. Annette instilled fear in me greater than I've had a fear of anything else in my life, to include going to combat 3 times. I inherently knew that privately she might torture me to death. It took all of the courage that I could possibly find. And I tell this police officer that my stepmother is beating us at home. Now, when I do this, in my head, I think the friggin' SWAT is about to break in the window. The SWAT team, it's over, like, oh my gosh. He gets up, he leaves the office, and he comes back with my stepmother, and she sits down next to me. And then he sits down at the desk and opens up the conversation, letting her know what I just said. I wanted to disappear off this earth. Needless to say, when I got back home, and she said, if you ever run away again, you better never come back. I don't know how long of a period of time it took. It wasn't long, like a week, 2 weeks, a month. I ran away again. And that time, like, I have to make sure I don't come back. Like, she'll kill me this time. Hid in the woods during the daytime. I had no clue what I was doing. And at nighttime, broke into stores. I ate out of trash cans, just wherever I could find food from. And eventually I ended up getting in trouble for criminal mischief or something like that. Find myself in a system, which its own little blessing for me.
I've always heard it said that the Marine Corps boot camp is the hardest thing next to SEAL training. I don't want to disrespect our SEAL friends. It's right close. It's maybe not as intense as a SEAL training. Okay, I get it. All the SEAL fans are like, no, it's worse. SEALs are worse. My nephew is United States Marine currently, and he talks about the crucible that he went through at the end of boot camp. And he's like, Neil, there's nothing like it on the planet. I can't even articulate what happens. He's like, it is the most insane training ceremony. I'm losing my descriptor words. It's tough to get through that. And then once you finally get through it, the Marine Corps, yeah, it doesn't get any easier. It's hard. You talk about 3 deployments. That's no cakewalk, especially nowadays. It's tough stuff. Now, again, we're not in a rating system per se. Harder Marine life? Was it easier than childhood life?
By far for me, by far. Childhood was way, way harder, worse, much more traumatic. The nightmares that followed for years, for decades, I suspect, I'll make a projection that the words that I use, in theory, I was so emotionally cauterized. Things didn't even get in that would have got in its own sick way. It was way worse. It was way more horrible for me, relatively for me, and its own odd way also maybe protected me from combat experiences and such.
Now, the obvious question, you talk about your dad. Where was he? The dad's supposed to be there too. And that's the way it's designed, is you got the mom that's the nurturer, that's the protector, that's the kissing our boo-boos. The dad's supposed to be there too. The dad's supposed to be the head, at least in my book, the overseer. He's supposed to make sure that everybody's doing their thing. Buck stops with him. I can't tell you how many times my mom would say, you wait till your dad gets home. My wife even said it to my daughter. You wait till your dad gets home. I'm like, don't say that. That's traumatic. That triggers me. Where was your dad in all this?
It's usually a pretty common thought and question. I'm glad you asked it that way. The listeners kind of get perspective. I want to share kindness around Annette, also around my dad, in the sense that short answer is he failed miserably. I want to offer a little bit of context for my dad. He, as far as I know, this was his first time walking the earth. Anytime there's physical abuse, in theory, there's probably also intentional psychological abuse. This is said by me, so I'm not a therapist, doctor, any of those things. My feelings to my dad today are, I forgive my father. He's alive, and I periodically see him, speak to him, and I tell him, I fully forgive you from a place of, if I was you, I would really definitely want sympathy. I would. And I also can feel that for you. I forgive you in every way possible. I love you as a human. Where I'm at today, I can't love you as my father. You didn't give me the behavior of being my father. As a human being on this earth, what I say about my opinions about my father is genuinely believe these are from his traumas. My father had absolutely no backbone. The nicest person you'd ever meet. Anyone that knows my dad would say about him, he'd give you the shirt off his back, and he literally would.
That's tough, man. So how do you get her off your list? How do you even get your dad off your list? You kind of hinted at it. How do you forgive yourself for not being the voice of your fallen brother. I know the Marine Corps pretty well. I never served. My dad did. My dad always made the joke, you don't need to serve. You did 12 years with me. You're good. I think it's kind of funny and hilarious. I was actually born in Camp Lejeune, North Carolina, which is Marine base. I spent time in Camp Pendleton, another Marine base. There is this thing that happens with Marines that I can't even explain, and I don't even think a listener can really understand unless they know a Marine or have been around Marines. There's this sense of camaraderie, this brotherhood. It doesn't matter if you're the Marine in South Carolina or if you're the Marine in California. You put on that brand, you put on that uniform, Marine mentality, that Marine jacket, if you will, and it changes everything. There is a fraternity, doesn't even really articulate what it is. I do know there is a brotherhood. So again, not easily explained to someone. It's not just a brotherhood. It's a family. It's more than a family. It is a way of life. You'll do anything for your fellow Marine. You'll help them out. You'll do whatever. Again, I keep going back to brotherhood. When you became a Marine and all that brotherhood and all that stuff came in, did all those feelings came back? I failed my brother. Have you carried that failure that somehow you should have spoke up? You should have done more?
As I started in the beginning, I'm grateful. I'm thankful to be where I'm at. This journey didn't just accidentally happen. I chose to continue on the journey. And for anyone listening, wherever you're at on your journey, my goal is to share the highlights, the highlight reel. There was challenges, there was opportunities along the way to really re-up on my commitments. As far as my father, I shared no backbone, over-the-road truck driver. He would be gone for 10 days at a time, stuff like that. And he was only home for small encounters. My stepmother never explicitly let him know what was going on, and the whole house was staged when he came home. However, nothing inside of me as a father could think about what that situation looked like, not need to take more action. There's no way in my world, there is no possible way. My dad is even like through conversation, like he knows. There's no way that you didn't know something was off. Yes, you weren't made privy to the details. He chose to accept that. Fine. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm sure that's all good. Which, mind you, in order to do that, you have to have no relationship with your child. Anytime I interacted with my father, the only behavior he showed me was love. The only behavior he showed me was love. Hey, dad's busy. I'm working. I love you, son. Hope everything's going good. I'm back on the road. Be good. Hope it all works out well. Like, he only ever showed me his tonality, his body language. Like, he only ever showed me love. It was real clear he did not have the fortitude to rock the boat. When I think about that, and I think if that was me, I know the grip that fear can put on one. For example, the question was, how did you forgive yourself? Well, what am I forgiving myself for? Well, I'm forgiving myself for allowing the grasp that fear had on me. There was actions I didn't take because of fear. Well, if I have that experience and I understand how powerful fear can be, it's hard to not understand the experience my father was having. Forgiving my father, for me, oddly enough, that was easy. I always felt like he did his best while failing miserably. All innocence and all goodness. That process of forgiving him, to say easy, I just didn't have any hatred towards him. Equally so, I don't have that, Dad, I'm glad we have a relationship now. I see you as a human. I get it. I'm a father now. I'm a man. I get it. I made decisions. I look back on them. I could have been you. Like, just total forgiveness, but there's not that. We don't have that connection or relationship.
How do you forgive your stepmom, or have you?
That one was the journey. I will say, when you say have you, short answer, absolutely yes. To this day, I still process negative emotions about her. How often do they come up? Well, at this point in the journey, maybe once a year, maybe every couple years at this point in the journey. I still have negative emotions that come up that I process through. Deep negative emotions that come up that I process through. When I talk about forgiveness, I want to highlight, before I ever went through the journey of forgiveness with her, I remember I can think back, what is forgiveness? What does forgiveness feel like? What happens with forgiveness? I can remember thinking these things before, and I want to share awareness for others that through the journey of forgiveness, I still have opportunities to process negative emotions about her, for her. Now, how did we do forgiveness? In 2011, and I decided to read a book on forgiveness. Now, I'm sure, because everyone asks, who's the author and what was the name of the book? I don't remember. This book, it didn't change my whole life. What happened at the time, I had just got out of the Marine Corps. I had done competitive bodybuilding. Discipline wasn't an issue, and I understand that. I really understood that like we can adapt and do anything. I read this book on forgiveness. The idea at this time in my life, the idea of forgiving her means she got away with all of it. Impossible at the time to process forgiveness because there's no way she gets to get away with all this. This is horrible. She can't get away with it. What I took from the book at the time was this whole book, roughly 40,000 words. And I come to the conclusion that forgiveness is a decision. That's my whole entire extraction from the book. I'm not sure that's what the author meant. That's exactly what I needed. In my world, I quantify if forgiveness is a decision, then it's a discipline. And if it's a discipline, no one can out-discipline me. I can do forgiveness now. This is how it starts. This is how the door gets cracked open to the fact that maybe this is a possible. With that, I don't have the tools. I haven't actually processed anything. So I just decide, fine, she's forgiven. Well, as all the listeners can probably imagine, this doesn't last very literally seconds. Less than a minute later, I would be pacing in my studio, talking to myself or even yelling sometimes. No, that's F that. That's BS. There's no way she just up and gets away because I have to forgive her. And so I couldn't even digest it. What I thought in my mind was, I thought back to competitive bodybuilding, and that's nothing more than a decision or a discipline. And I thought to myself, roughly speaking, when I was doing competitive body, every 2 to 3 hours, some type of meal is getting eaten. Okay, when it was time to eat a meal, yeah, I want to eat all these other things that would taste good, but I need to make the decision and just eat this meal. And once I get done eating this meal, I'll feel good because I did the right thing that I chose to do. But in 2 hours, I'll have to refight the same fight again over and over and over if I want to get on stage and place well. At that chapter in my life, I just related that, hey, we're going to have to remake this decision over and over and over again, just like eating the next meal. That's what got me started. Forgiveness is not totally quantified here. This opens the door.
I had a guest actually say to me on our 400th episode a couple of weeks ago, actually, she makes this statement, who taught us how to forgive? And ever since she has said that, it has absolutely haunted me. Now, listen, I don't like Skechers shoes. It seems lazy. You're slipping them on. Plus Skechers, I mean, it's not cool. You're not showing up to the gym. You're not balling out in Skechers. I don't see any NBA guys. I know you're not a sports guy. But even bodybuilding, you can't show up at the convention, the showcase, the event for bodybuilding. I don't think you're doing that as a bodybuilder. Okay, I'm putting that out there. Maybe you are. If you are, then you probably need to get mocked and ridiculed for that. She said, who taught us how to forgive, Neil? And so in my brain started thinking back to things that were taught. I was taught how to ride a bike somewhere in the journey. My mom, maybe others, taught me how to use the restroom, potty training. That was a thing. We all got taught that. Might not got taught other things, but we got taught that one. We know how to do that. Being a little bit funny on purpose. But the other one that they taught us was tying our shoes. Now, hear me on this. My daughter is left-handed. I'm not left-handed. I still to this day don't know who taught her how to tie her shoes. Maybe she's figured it out and just watched other kids. Like, I don't know. I've tried. And she's like, Dad, you're doing it wrong. I'm like, what do you mean? It's loop, swoop, and pull. It's pretty easy. Some way, somewhere along the way, somebody taught us about forgiveness. So my question, big question here, who taught you how to forgive?
Semi going with the joke, dead people. I did not trust people at all. So much so because of what I experienced in Annette, the way she operated, and this was my whole world for a period of time, my perception of the world was they're all showing us their version of what Annette was showing us, and they're all just evil in their house. Everyone's doing evil behind the scenes. Can't trust them. I saw people trust Annette and knew they can't actually trust her. Oh, I can't trust anyone. Okay. Now, before I read that book on forgiveness, I wasn't big on reading. That book, it doesn't change my whole life. It literally was like, oh, there might be something in these books. Insatiably start reading books. People are like, who's your mentor? Dead people. And I kind of as a joke, most of these books, the people had already passed. For whatever reason, for me, I was able to extract value in the fact that this information was accurate so long ago and is still accurate today. That has to be good information. The next trendy information, the next trendy way to forgive will be here and gone by tomorrow. Someone wrote a book 100 years ago, and to this day, we have no choice but to read it and say yes all the way through the book. Holy smokes, they were way ahead of their time. They were sharing information that's still true. One of the books that helped me the most in its own unique way, and it's just a small line in that book that really changed things for me, was Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. There's a part in that book, and Dale Carnegie's not the one that's quoting it. He's quoting someone else, and I forget who he is quoting another person. And he says, we should not judge others, for we are no different than they are under other circumstances. That was insanely profound for me. When I go out and speak, sometimes I ask people, raise your hand if you've ever woken up with so much anger and rage inside of your body that you even thought it was possible that you might cause enough harm to kill a child. Well, nobody's ever raised their hand. For everyone that cannot raise their hand on that, we cannot speak on the weight that Annette was carrying. She still was a human and a child of God, even with all of her disgusting behaviors. Right now, there's behaviors that I displayed that if it was put on the Jumbotron for the whole world to see, I would hope there would be at least one friend left to see me as a person outside of my behaviors. That really quantified for me. She is me under other circumstances.
That's a powerful takeaway. So, Greg, I've heard it said 1,000 times, probably. I know we don't have 1,000 shows, but it seems like it's repeated not only in show life, but in real life. Hopefully I'm the same on the show as I am in real life, but sometimes people have said that I'm a little different. The hardest person to forgive is the guy or gal looking back at us in the mirror. You even said it at the start. You said the person that would be on your list is your stepmom, and you said, and you. I would echo that. Hardest person I think I've ever had to forgive is me. I can easily forgive someone else. Feels like sometimes it's a little harder. But at the end of the day, I feel like the hardest guy to forgive still is Neil Matthews. Because I know the stuff I've done. I know the junk I've done. You talk about putting my stuff on the Jumbotron? No, thank you. I don't want that in any form or fashion. No. I don't care if it's Nissan Stadium or Jack Murphy Stadium. Like, I don't care. Jack Murphy Stadium is where the Padres used to play for those non-sports fans. I don't know how to forgive myself. So if I can't forgive myself, how on God's green earth can I forgive anyone else? Any idea on that?
Yes, it's a journey that I'm still actively on. Process of forgiving myself. For me, I choose, and it's a choice, right? I can imagine seeing myself as air quotes here, a child, air quotes, meaning like what age? Well, whatever age that situation happened. And when I say that situation, anytime those negative emotions arise or we feel uneasy or fear comes up, I suggest that that is our inner child throwing a temper tantrum. I'm using the word temper tantrum. Look, that's a little bit aggressive. That's your inner child saying, like, I need some help. Something isn't right. When that situation happened, by the way, when I'm saying that, whichever one you may be processing or forgiven self for. When that situation happened, the age you were, the emotional intelligence you had, and the intellectual capacity you had was you quantified it from that place. Moving forward, unless you've went on the journey, you've never re-quantified it. How you quantified it then is not even remotely close to all the information that's available about that situation. You just locked it in, and life's been in session since then. Now, anytime something comes up that could possibly get us back here, the inner child acts up a little bit. Hey, hold on, something isn't right. I imagine for me, for anyone out there that, especially as if you're a father, for those that are a father, I speak to my inner child the way I would speak to my son. My son is 11 years old. If someone bullied him at school, and he's free and clear of that, anything happened, and I had to articulate that situation to him in a way that he understood that he was safe, he's empowered, he's protected, he has a say, I would have to articulate it at an 11-year-old's level. If I can get him to track what I understand, my emotional intelligence, my intellectual, if I can get him to track that, he'll quantify that experience for the rest of his life in that way. How do I forgive self? It's literally getting myself to realize or to track what I can understand now, looking back on the situation, that my self, when it happened, could not understand then. Genuinely choose to believe that we're all doing the absolute best we can at any given second in time. Not that we don't know any better, but that's the absolute best we are capable of mustering. And some people don't like to digest that for others. But then I say, remember for yourself, all the decisions you made up until now were the absolute best, even though you knew better on some of those decisions. At that second, that was the best you had. Me understanding all of this, I have not completely and totally quantified and forgiven self. I'm just actively on the journey of going back, loving my inner child, protecting him, and sharing with him what he couldn't quantify back then because he didn't have his mother and father sharing in a way that some people get to.
That's powerful. Powerful, man. I love what you're saying there. I had a pastor say once that he often thinks about, and this is weird, so I'm just going to preface, this is weird, but he said he would often picture his wife as a younger girl. And he said, I never want to hurt that little girl that's inside of my wife. I would work really hard not to harm that little young lady that's inside my wife.
I think that's beautiful.
He believed everyone had the little boy and the little girl inside of you somewhere, to your point, and that so many times we're mean to that younger little boy or we're mean to that younger little girl, and we almost bully them and beat them up because they couldn't do more or they couldn't be more.
The listeners could apply this all the same. If I was your 7-year-old son and I came to you judging myself for one of the experiences that I had, how would you articulate to your 7-year-old so that they could understand responsibility without carrying this judgment? Now, we don't have to answer that. However, you would explain that to them so that they can understand, if I judge myself for what happened to my brother, I obviously don't have the understanding to release the judgment. If I want to get to that understanding, I literally imagine I'm talking to my 7-year-old son.
Greg, help us with this. If people are interested in you, if they want to know more of the journey, more of the story, it sounds like you're pretty open to talk about that. I see this GP Mind Growth Behind Me Academy. When I hear academy, it does make me think academic, which fine. It's my own insecurities. Tell us about the work you're doing. Is there a way people can connect? How can they know all things Greg? I call it the ecosystem, and then I looked up the word ecosystem. I still feel like I'm using it correctly. What is the Greg ecosystem? And tell us about that.
Yeah, I love it. Thank you. The Academy, GP Mind Growth Academy. I'm an American board certified neuro-linguistic programming trainer. Also facilitate highly immersive transformational events with things like firewalking, breaking boards, breaking bricks. And all of this is to create and hold space and help adults that had childhood trauma. We all know we got to take care of the kids. Like we got to take better care of the kids. Most of us would just nod to that and like, that's understood. Also though, all of the adults that are adults today were definitively kids that didn't get the love they needed when they were kids, like the things that happen in childhood. As a society, we don't pay attention to it. Hey, get over it. We got shit to do. Life's in session. GP Mind Growth Academy and myself, I really stand to create space for those adults that went through that. No, we still get to process. Best way to connect and learn more and see what's going on, powerinthepain.com. If they do /SIYP, they'll be able to see some of the transformational events that we host and things like that.
See, I thought GP stood for growth is possible, but it's actually your initials of your name.
It is, yes. I like growth is possible too. That's
as I'm looking at it, I'm like, GP, growth is possible with Mind Growth Academy. That's what I'm putting together. That's the sentence in my head. And then I look down, I'm like, oh, his last name starts with a P. Also, Gary Payton, which I know you don't know him, but he's the glove. And he was a really good on-ball defender. Michael Jordan actually credits him for being one of the best defenders that he ever faced. What I'm trying to say is people need to sharpen their defense mechanisms and sharpen this idea that they can grow and growth is possible.
I love it. I love it. I'm going to adopt it. I'll use it from time to time. Growth is possible, and growth is always possible. We are always capable of changing and evolving if we choose, if we desire.
Well, Greg, I appreciate you being here. I appreciate all that you shared. I love that we got to connect thanks to our good friend, Christina Simmons. Big shout out to her, TEDx talk speaker. She sent me a number of folks now, and I just want to thank her so much for all the hard work she does in sending me some great people, much like yourself. And she's amazing. She was a past guest this past season. Want to acknowledge her and the work that she's doing. Just want to say thank you, man. Thank you for being here today and giving us a few moments. We appreciate it.
I appreciate being on and really thankful for what you do, sharing this platform. You may not get to meet all the lives you're changing. It feels good getting to be part of a platform that I know is changing lives. So thank you for having me.
All right, guys and gals, kids and campers alike, that is it. That is all. That is, in fact, our show today. And that's the end of our season even today. It is season finale day. I used to say hooray. I want to ask you this question before we get out of here. Give you back your day. I heard that said once on a Zoom and I always laugh at that. Let me give you back your day. So let me give you back your day. Do you even want your day given back to you? I believe soul and wholeheartedly today that we learned very easily that we can grow, that growth is in fact possible. But the question is, on that cliche sign that I saw years ago, grow where you're planted. Is that even possible? Can you grow where you're planted right now? And again, I'm not a green thumb. Maybe we need to be uprooted and planted somewhere else. Is growth even possible for you? Is it gone? You're like, Neil, I'm too far gone. I can't grow where I am. You don't understand. This list has been such a weight. Well, something my guest said that maybe you didn't hear, but there's this fire that takes place. Maybe it's time we burn up the list, burn up the place that has been holding us back, and we let it go. And then maybe again, growth is truly possible. Let me know if that's true of you, if growth really is possible. You can let me know at opspodcast.com. Of course, that is an amazing place. You can let us know there. You can also let us know always on the socials. I mainly hang out on Instagram if you want to come join me there, but OPS Podcast Show on our Instagram, Facebook, and X. And don't forget this, next week we're starting a new season. Don't forget this before we go. Remember, when you walk in other people's shoes, you really do get a different perspective on life. I want to thank you so much for listening. Stay tuned until next week when we walk in other people's shoes.